everyone, and a warm welcome to Mumbai and today's panel discussion on inclusion, which is a part of the C20 series on education and digital transformation. The C20 is the official engagement group bringing together the aspirations and concerns of the civil society, and the group will be making policy proposals to the G20 governments that could potentially impact the lives of our citizens. So I'm truly grateful to the Amrita University and its amazing Chancellor, Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, Amma, to us all, for giving us this opportunity here in Mumbai to share our experiences and concerns. Even before the NEP came out, the National Education Policy came out, inclusion has been a watchword in the education community, but it denotes many different things to different people. The policy lays down what we need to do for integrating people with challenges into the mainstream. Who will diagnose? What we need to do, who will diagnose, what supports are needed, what accommodations schools and examination boards are to make. Details are exhaustive, but it's the implementation that matters. Is it enough for institutions to have a counselor on staff to ensure the needs of these students are met? Ramps, a special educator, is that all? A pediatrician maybe to advise? Today, we have representatives of institutions that have mined the spirit of inclusion to ensure that every student's needs are met. They have gone the extra mile repeatedly to develop processes and modify their systems to create a more supportive environment for students with diverse needs and all kinds of challenges. The systems are a work in progress, constantly modified with each new experience, and I hope their representatives will their presentations will generate a great deal of discussion and comment from the special ed community represented here in this room as well as online. To set the stage, we will hear from a remarkable lady who has had no option but to attend a mainstream school decades ago. Sadly, her experiences then are no different from those of countless people with disabilities even today. Our CEO Masrat Khan will introduce Nino Kevlani.
Good evening, everyone. We have Nino here, who has been a vocal activist with ADAPT, formerly the Spastic Society of India, since 1999, spreading awareness about disability and access issues through articles, TV shows, media interviews, street plays, and PILs in the High Court. Thanks to our efforts, numerous builders, institutions, and industries have incorporated access features into their premises and pledged to continue to do so, while the local public bus service has added 30 disabled-friendly buses to its fleet. Nino became the first Miss Wheelchair India in 2014 and has modeled for several major brands. She has also participated in the Beyond Barriers Incredible India project, traveling 19,000 kilometers around the country in 84 days. Her many achievements have been recognized with awards from the Rotary Club of Sion and NASIO's Srimati Suniti Devi Singhania Award. That's a lot, Nino, a lot of achievement, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Am I audible? Yeah. Thank you, MDA, Mrs. Kurawala, and the team for having me here. It's really an honor to share my experience, my life story on this platform where it could make a small difference in changing the society with what still needs to be done, because we have still have to go a long way. Lots has been done though, but yet it's not over. So I got polio when I was 9 months old, and like all parents, my parents also wanted the best of education for me. In those days, we lived in a building which had no lift, and my apartment was on the top floor. So my father, because all the other children in the family went to the best of schools, that time we used to stay at Mahim. So somebody went to Bombay Scottish, somebody, some cousin of mine went to Don Bosco. My own younger sister, she went to Canossa Convent, which was well known in those days, and it had a lift. It was really unheard of to have, a school with a lift. So my father took me there for the admission, and because it was run by nuns, he was very happy, and he said, anyways, my younger daughter is going here. Sorry, yeah. So my younger sister was born later, but my other cousins in the family were. So he said she'll be well taken care of, and there's a lift. But to his horror and shock, they did not refuse admission, but very tactfully they said she cannot use a lift because that is only meant for the management teachers and the nuns, and we are not going to take any responsibility. That was very shocking for my father, and he got so disgusted that he put me to a school which was in fact more closer to my house, but it was not at all accessible, and it was non-convent school. It was more managed by the Maharashtrian, the principal, and everybody was like a Marathi thing. But luckily, I went to a morning batch which had English medium. Now it was a long struggle of 10 years to take it fast forward, because it had no lift, there was no toilets. I could never attend the laboratory, the science practicals. I have never seen what a library in the school looks like. There was no dance drama annual day, and the fun thing that a child really looks forward to. So none of that was available to me. I'm not saying it was anybody's fault, it was just not there. The whole concept of inclusion was just not there. I'm talking about 70s, 80s. It was a long haul, a big challenge for my parents, because as I said, I lived on a fourth floor in a building which had no lift. So I had to be carried every day 4 floors of my house, the 2 floors of 3 floors of the school, with no toilet available to me, and the only thing that school meant for me was just being put up on the bench in the morning and afternoon taken back. So there was no other activity as a child would love to, in the break, go out, run into the corridor, go to the toilet, go to the canteen and eat something. So none of those activities were available for me. So by the end of the 10 years, it became very difficult by the time I reached 10th, because by then you, as a woman, as a girl, you also growing up in the 8th and the 9th standard becomes more challenging. And throughout my schooling, parallelly, I also had to come to Hajeli next door, the Rehab Institute, for my physiotherapy and treatments every day. But the beauty, in spite of the school not being accessible, what I would really credit, and today I really feel proud for having gone to a vernacular school. I was labeled by that time, but not that I care today. They really helped me. The intent was there. They adjusted my marks, because I could not do the science practicals. I could not go to the library. I could not be part of the so many other activities which get added to your marks. So they adjusted my the ranking, and in no way that I was left behind. My biology teacher, see, for other experiments where you have to do with those chemistry experiments, you have to do with the chemicals and all, I could not go up. But the biology teacher at least got the jars downstairs, to show me the specimens. I mean, I still remember this after so many years, because the whole intention was there to do maximum that they could do. But what I'm saying, that doesn't take away the challenge of, the 10 years that my parents and the help that, had to be carried up and down, and how traumatic it became more and more for me when I was growing up and more things was setting in. Falling off the bench, sometimes not able being able to control, not having, because I was couldn't go to the toilet. So things became more and more complicated. But obviously my father's was like, very adamant. He said nothing doing, at least she deserves the basic schooling. Cut to that, luckily, uh, after I finished my 10th, we moved to my current building, which has two lifts, not one but two. It has a ramp. My father put it himself because the building committee was not agreeing. Now the question was about further education, like the college. By now I was already 17, 18 years of old, and lifting me, carrying me in arms was next to impossible. But though a very well known college, Ruparal College, was the closest to my house where I stay, Matunga Mahim, it had no lift either. So going to a college was out of question, but luckily there was a distance learning program introduced around those years by the Mumbai University. So what I did was I took up commerce. I would study at home, and only to give exam once a year I had to go. But though even that was very challenging because none of the colleges are disabled friendly. So for me, college life was being at home, study, and only go to give exams. Now that's something a teenager will never want it, because I had other friends in the building. You get down in the evening in the compound, and then you're hearing your friends. Oh, today I went to, I'm in HR. Today we had college day. Today we had Rose Day. Oh, Jai Hind is doing this. NMIMS. Today we have college festival. Today we have Malhar. For you, you do not know what world is that. What is college life? What is Rose Day? What is Sari Day? So for me, college meant only studying. But because I came to a building which had lift, at least I could get down every day in the evening, go out, and my world opened up. I came from a well into the ocean, and that's where my personality started shaping up, because I got a lot of exposure, and maybe I was lucky enough to have that kind of support system from the family, cousins, and more of from the friends. I think what we learn from the peers is much more than you would do in an academic. So this is how at least it has impacted my life, and that's where I realized when, and then later on in my life when I joined Adapt, because in between I dabbled with lot of other career options which failed because of access. So what I realized at the end of the day when I joined Adapt finally, that it is not a disability, it is the monster called access which is affecting not only my life and all the people around who are, when I met in Adapt, because I saw there were other people who were impacted in many other ways. Some of them were not lucky enough to even complete their schooling. See, not everybody can afford attendance, cars, and drop and pick, those kind of help. So there were a lot of other people with so many other issues. So what we realized, it is not our disabilities, it was the infrastructure which was a big challenge, which was really the need of the hour. And that time I'm talking about, as she read in my profile, I've been doing this since 1999, 2000, 23 years now. But I must say we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. You can just barely see a wheelchair here and there in a mall, in maybe some hospital park here and there, but beyond that maybe a ramp, yes, but usse zyada kuch nahi hai. But things are happening. Now we have RTE, we have Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan now. So I'm told that there are BMC 17 to 18 BMC schools, and yet there is lack of toilets there. There is a ramp which is for namesake, which is really very steep. We were just talking during our tea, over the tea, and there are about 1100 schools which are housed in 450 buildings, but they are none of them, the BMC schools, none of them are designed for children with special needs. There are again special educators, but I'm told that they are not enough. In a school or where there are 1,000 children, one or two special educator or a counselor is just not enough. And when the child is put into an inclusive school, it seems that there is no preparation time given to the parents or the child to get adapted. So what happens is the child ends up going once a week or twice a week, which is just like a symbolic thing that you have included the child. So this is really happening only for the namesake, but not really being implemented all the way, which it should be. Curriculum, yes, there is lots happening at the curriculum level. So there are good things happening, but schools still need to have access, because children want to also take part in dance, drama, go for the school picnics or whatever activities. That actually shapes up our lives, our entire lives. What we have today, will you remember what happened in your history book and geography book? No. Today when you meet at a reunion, you're going to talk about the naughty things you did, and the all the fun and the play, and the the school trips you went. Those are the things you are going to remember forever. So that's what the whole life takes up the shape over there. um, Now there are metro and all those things happening. So going to school, the approach, yes, it's still challenging, but there is a home for individual with disability which has been set up in Palghar by Sangeeta Jagtiani and Shobha from ADAPT. Sangeeta also has scoliosis. She said, Ninu, when I go from by train to Palghar from Bandra, she said, do you know Palghar station has an escalator? It has an elevator. And Palghar is still considered to be on outskirts like a village. So when a place like Palghar can have an escalator, elevator at their station, we talking about metro, Mumbai, why can't we have those facilities? Of course, I'm talking about the facilities overall, but coming back to schools, yes, education, curriculum, everything has been taken care of. There are policies in place. But my question is, where is the infrastructure yet happening? We have branded schools like Ambani and all those. They may have access, they may have toilets or facilities, but how many children can go to a branded school? Not all of. So I think education, yes, it has to be approached overall, but infrastructure still needs to be in place. I mean, the right infrastructure, not for the namesake. People will just put a ramp. It may damage a person more than they would facilitate a person. But for God's sake, have the right people who know the dimensions. Have people like us, like Ketan, who know where it hurts. So when the any project, school is given grant or designed, for God's sake, involve us, because we know what we want. My own school in Mahim, it was not accessible. Now they have ramp, they have lift, but they have not put toilet. They have put up a second building in the same compound. It doesn't have a lift at all though. Now they want CBSE affiliation. They called me last month. They said, can you bring an architect and tell us, because they are not giving us the CBSE affiliation because it has got huge requisites among many other things. They need it to be accessible. I spent 2 days with them, going with my architect, Parul Khumta. She is a mother, everybody knows, and she's a very well-known architect. She can tell you a design from a back of her hand. We spent so much time there. In the end, my school backed off for the lack of funds. They said, we cannot put a lift. No, that's not possible. Toilet, it's TK, we'll do. They said, we'll put we'll provide a wheelchair stair lift. I said, that's not happening. For a 10 years, if a child takes admission, you're going to be taking it up and down through a stair lift. That's ridiculous. For God's sake, have a lift there. And there was a space where they could do it. Now they say, we are government aided schools, we don't have money. So now I don't know how this can be resolved. What solution can come out with the discussion where the schools, they say, we are willing to do it, they have the space, but there are no funds. So I think again at the policy level, when there is allocation for the education, the ministry should, also emphasize and put aside for the development of the infrastructure along with the curriculum, along with the faculty and the training that is happening. But all the training, all the policies are of no use if the child cannot reach the school. That is my stand. That's all for me. Thank you so much.
Neenu, I liked the one point that you made, which I think is very important. The disability sector always says, nothing for us without us. And that, I think, is a very important message that you did make, that people with disabilities have to be included in the decision making at every stage, whether it is, yes, whether it is infrastructure or curriculum or anything. If you're designing for people with challenges, those very people should be part of the process and making the decisions, right? Yeah. Just one quick question. You know, for many parents, choosing between a mainstream school and a special school, catering to their child's needs is a Hobson's choice. You know, in a special school, they will be protected, they will be given, hopefully, many more facilities, and their needs will be met. Yeah. But what is it that you feel you learned in a mainstream school which you might not have got in a...
Yeah, so it's easy for me to point that out because I've been part of the ADAPT last 23 years, which is, yes, has yeah, sorry. So, and I went to a mainstream school. See, to a mainstream school till the time I was almost in my 20s, late 20s, I had never interacted with people with disability other than I like myself, or maybe when I came to Hajeli for treatment, which was then long back. So, you know, my whole mental development, the exposure and the personality was, I was surrounded by so-called able-bodied people, cousins, friends. So, I never discussed, or it never occurred to me to just think about myself as disabled, because I did everything that I could do. Because, as I said, I was lucky that I got my cousins and family and friends who included me in every way, whether it was when I reached my teens, going to a disc for the first time, sneaking out, lying to my parents, or whether it was doing all the naughty things, talking to boys. And that time there we had those landlines which did not show the phone number, you know, and you could, in 1 rupee you could talk for 2 hours. So talking and playing pranks, you know, those kind of things. So I got exposure to that kind of a normal upbringing as a teenager, which when I went to adapt, it was different. Okay, because you know, whole life, everything revolves around, then everything is like for disability, and you're seeing that kind of atmosphere. So I'm not saying that's not good, because it's required, but I must say that if it is included in the mainstream, you know, the overall personality and the development is much more. The exposure, whether it is what you want to do ahead in career, what you want to do professionally ahead, so you get a roadmap, because there are other people doing the same thing. But if you go to a special, I'm not again saying that I'm doing away with special schools, they are required, but it's a slowly we should transform it, we should bridge from this to that. So that is important. The overall, talking about facilities, so if special education schools can do it, mainstream schools should also provide it, and that will be the true inclusion in that sense. Yeah, but it will definitely impact a person's personality. That is definite, that's given.
Thank you. I think that's also a very important point, because this is something that we debate about all the time. And very often mainstream schools say, but you know, there's such a good special school which will give all the facilities that are needed. Why does this child, why do we need to adapt to this child here? So that's a very powerful answer that you gave. Moving on from the from someone who did not get too much of support from with the infrastructure and with their special needs in a school, a mainstream school. We move on to Muktangan works within municipal schools. They run 7 municipal schools in Mumbai, in central Mumbai, and part of their philosophy is access for all, and they take it very seriously. Let's hear first from one of their students, Rishabh, who has an interesting story to tell.
हेलो, मेरा नाम ऋषभ रविश कानड़ है। मैं मुक्तांगन से ग्रेजुएट हुआ हूँ। मुक्तांगन का पहला बैच है और वहाँ से मैंने अपना 12वीं कंप्लीट किया है मिलियन नाइट कॉलेज से, एक कॉमर्स बैकग्राउंड। और वहाँ से मैंने होटल मैनेजमेंट की डिग्री कंप्लीट की है जी अम्बेडकर कॉलेज। और ड्यू टू कोरोना की वजह से कहाँ पे भी जॉब ऑफर नहीं हो रहा था, तो आईटीसी में अप्रेंटिस में लगा और अप्रेंटिस खत्म, 1 साल में अप्रेंटिस ख़त्म करने के बाद अभी स्टाफ में इंक्लूड किया मुझे। तो यहाँ से मैं यहाँ से बहुत शिफ्टिंग हुआ है मेरा, मतलब पहले महालक्ष्मी में था, बाद में सानपाड़ा शिफ्ट हुआ था। दोनों स्कूल पर्सनल रीजन्स की वजह से चेंज करने पड़े। वहाँ से मैं मुंबई शिफ्ट हुआ वापस। तो मेरी मॉम के फ्रेंड ने ए स्कूल रिकमेंड किया था, तो जैसे यहाँ पे जॉइंट हुआ तो बहुत चेंजेस मुझे मिले। जैसे टीचर जहाँ पे बहुत एक्टिव है, सिखाने में एक्टिव है, बाद में एक्टिविटीज़ भी बहुत अच्छे है वहाँ पे। जैसे मैजिक बस था, जहाँ पे गेम्स जैसे फुटबॉल हो गए, बाद में कैंपिंग एक्टिविटीज़ 3 दिन के लिए कैंप के लिए बाहर लेके जाते थे, जैसे करजत जल। बाद में एनुअल प्रोजेक्ट्स जैसे एक्टिविटी, जहाँ पे पूरे पेरेंट्स आते हैं, हम लोग को प्रोजेक्ट दिखाना पड़ता है, एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ता है। बहुत चेंजेस मिले, जहाँ पे टीचर का ज़्यादा इन्वॉल्वमेंट होना। बाद में स्कूल का पिकनिक, जिसमें हम लोग को पर्सनल एजुकेशन नॉलेज मिलती है साइट्स में, जैसे नेहरू प्लानिटोरियम में जाके। और एनुअल डे प्रोजेक्ट, जिसमें हम लोग को पेरेंट्स को एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ता है कौन सा प्रोजेक्ट किया है हम लोग ने, इसके बारे में डिटेल में। और तो मैं स्टडीज़ में बहुत वीक था, बहुत ही वीक था। मुझे लर्निंग में थोड़ा टाइम लग रहा था, तो टीचर ने बहुत संभाल के लिया मुझे मुक्तांगन में। और 10वीं पास भी हुआ मैं। और 10वीं के बाद जो जर्नी था मेरा, 11वीं 12वीं कंप्लीट करने में होटल मैनेजमेंट चालू किया मैंने। होटल मैनेजमेंट ज्वाइन हुआ, वहाँ से होटल का मैनेजमेंट में बहुत डिपार्टमेंट है, जैसे सर्विस का डिपार्टमेंट है, कुकिंग का डिपार्टमेंट है, बाद में हाउसकीपिंग का भी है। तो मुझे अंदर से फीलिंग आया कि मुझे सर्विस में ही जाना चाहिए। तो दूसरों को सर्व करने में मुझे अच्छा लगता था, तो इस हिसाब से सर्विसिंग में किया। और अभी ITI में ज्वाइन हुआ सर्विस स्टाफ के लिए। फॉर यू व्हाट यू लाइक यू शुड डू। आपको जो अच्छा लगता है वो आप करना चाहिए, और आप टैलेंट जिसमें है ना उसे फॉलो करो। तो मुक्तांगन में टीचिंग का अलग ही मेथड है, जिसमें टीचर बच्चों को हर एक क्लास में स्टूडेंट्स का अलग अलग बैच किया जाता है। 7-8 जन का बैच किया जाता है। एक टीचर, हर एक बैच को एक टीचर रहती है, उसको सिखाती है, जैसे इंग्लिश, मैथ, साइंस, हिस्ट्री, ज्योग्राफी, कॉमर्स। तो और भी आउटडोर एक्टिविटीज़ में बच्चों को बड़े ग्राउंड में लेके जाके एक्टिविटीज़ लिया जाता है, और इसमें सबको इंक्लूड किया जाता है। It's like history. They teach you like it is a story. They explain like a story about what happened in that time.
We will now hear from Ela Shah, Head of Inclusion at Muktangan, and I request Masrat Khan to introduce Ela.
Ela is an education professional working in special needs and inclusion for the last 16 years. She has been at Muktangan since 2014, heading the inclusion department across 7 schools as well as training teachers to work with children with special needs. Prior to that, she was based in Hong Kong working with an international school supporting students with learning disabilities and with focus a support organization for children with ADHD. She has a Master of Education in Special Education from the University of Newcastle upon Tyne and a PGDE from Hong Kong University. Over to you, Ela.
Thank you for having me here. The reason I want to talk about Muktangan and how we practice inclusion is because I genuinely believe that it is possible to be inclusive even with limited resources. So, Muktangan is an English medium, runs English medium schools, BMC schools. We have 7 schools currently, about 4,000 plus students, and about 250 teachers. And our student pool is from the local community. Our teachers are also from the local community, and we don't take teachers who are trained professionals. We don't have B.Ed and D.Ed teachers. What we do is we've taken women from the community and we provide them pre-service as well as in-service training. So they also develop and they become professionals, so they are earning an income. This is essentially, we are not only empowering the women, but we are also uplifting the entire community because it's their children who are getting educated. I think that the most important thing about inclusion is you need to have a whole school initiative. We need to get commitment from everyone involved. It is no use having management give a directive and say, okay, now we are going to be an inclusive school, because you will have a lot of people, you will have the teachers saying, we don't have the time, we don't have the the training to deal with this. You might have parents who complain that we don't want my child studying with a child with disabilities. Teachers' attention will get diverted. So it is very important that the whole school is on board and you get commitment from everyone. And that can only happen if you actually get you share the vision, and that is everyone is on board with the vision that you want to create. You want to create cohorts of students who will be open to changing society, changing the way people look at people with disabilities. So a positive attitude is very important. Now, how do you get that positive attitude? At Muktangan, we have provided, Ummeed has provided training, sensitization training to our teachers, so that they are not only sensitized, but they are aware of what are the disabilities and at least some basic understanding, so they know how to deal with it. So when they have a student, let's say an autistic child in their class, they're not saying, I don't know what to do with this child. I'm, very worried and afraid of how to deal with this. And not only that, but parents will start appreciating the support their children are getting. So I think these are the 2 most important things that we need to do right at the outset. One of the, so we take children of all abilities, and so we have children with autism, we have children with intellectual disabilities, we have cerebral palsy, and of course the learning disabilities. What is, we have actually one of the things that we have managed to do is to get a good teacher-student ratio. So we have 1 to 15, but unfortunately due to lack of space, we have 3 groups in each classroom, 3 teachers, but we have now divided them according to ability. So to some extent, we are able to modify the curriculum so to meet the ability level. I think that one unique feature about our classes and our classrooms is that we have a very flexible arrangement. The furniture we have is stackable so that you can clear the classroom if they want to do, let's say, a role play, or they want to put children in a circle, or in this case you see that they are working in groups on the floor. But here you'll see that they are working on tables and chairs. But if you notice the 3 children in the middle, now maybe the teacher felt that these were the children who needed more attention, or maybe these were children who needed to be in the middle so they couldn't get up and run around. So, but this allows the teacher flexibility of how she wants to manage her classroom. And along with this, our pedagogy also is, we try to do lessons and sessions which are more multisensory, which are activity based. We include role play, songs, things like that, because we feel that it is very important to allow children to learn to their strengths. So in this case, you'll see children are allowed to demonstrate, they will be able to do things which demonstrates their ability. Here in one corner, they are singing a song because it's a science song, but they have learnt it that way. And in this case, there is group learning. Now, cooperative learning is known to be very beneficial to both disabled as well as non-disabled children. In fact, it is the non-disabled who will probably benefit more, because it builds empathy, it builds their social emotional skills. They will learn how to support each other. And of course, the children with learning disabilities will also learn from each other. So I believe that this is an excellent way to conduct lessons. Here you'll see in this picture, there is a child. Now maybe perhaps this child is not able to do everything the other children are able to do. So the teacher will ask him a math question, maybe an addition question, and all he has to do is literally step on the answer. So that at least in that way, his participation, he can do the task to his level. Now all our children may not be able to do work at the same level, but at least in some way our teachers will ensure participation. Now I want to tell you a little bit about our teachers, and because they have been sensitized to it, I just learned of an incident yesterday where our teachers are doing some outreach with BMC schools in the Nipun Bharat program. And so they have been going to these schools and teaching the children and all, and the teachers, training the teachers. Now, in one school, there was a child who was always running around, being very disruptive and quite aggressive and all. So after a few weeks, one of the teachers said that, why is this child like this? Why is he not part of this group? The BMC teacher says, नहीं उसको रहने दो, वो तो थोड़ा पागल जैसा है. But because our teachers are, a little bit more aware, she said, no, I think that, let's do something. So they went and spoke to the headmaster, and they told him to write a letter to the parents. They got the parents in. They got the parents to get this child tested and see what it is. And it turns out that he did have some problems, and he did have a issue. But after that, they started taking a little bit more interest in him, getting him involved, working with him individually. Now he enjoys those sessions. He sits nicely. Parents are very happy. And the headmaster comes and tells our teachers, this is something my teachers should be doing. So even just the awareness can change things, because there may be so many children who are falling through the cracks like this. So I think that has made a big difference. And our teachers, like you heard from the previous student, he says even in project day, even there they are required to present something, all the children will have something to show, some role to play in this. So they are never left out of all these. And we have things like PE, we have music, we have art, which any child can participate in. Also, we have an inclusion department, and in this we have about 2 teachers per school who are special ed teachers, and they will provide support to children who have been identified. Now, our teachers again are not professional special educators. We have a 2-year training program where we train the teachers, and then we have an ongoing training. So these teachers will do an informal assessment of the student, identify the needs, and provide support. Now, the support we provide is individualized sessions where we will build and work on their numeracy and literacy skills. We do not do content because that happens in the classroom. And these children will spend 90% of their time in a classroom because that's where we believe the most of the learning happens. 10% of their time they will spend in individual sessions. So that is how here you will see that these children are learning. Again, it is activity based and to their way of learning. And here the teacher is taking a group session. We also recently started a parent support group, and this has been very successful because this is a forum in which parents can share concerns, and it helps, reduce the stigma of, oh, I shouldn't talk about my child, or maybe I'm the only one here who has this problem. And they also learn about others' experiences. They learn how to deal with situations because as children get older, behavior starts getting worse. And not only that, but they also learn about what access they have to facilities, what are the government benefits available. So, and this can be done in any school, having a parent support group. We have something called circle time, where this is actually a very nice thing that we do. It's a session where children are, it's a very non-threatening situation in which children can share their feelings, their emotions, their experiences, and each child is required to participate, each child is required to speak, and this really helps build confidence. We have even non-verbal children who have been able to share in these. So this is another way in which we conduct our circle time. Of course, we have challenges, and as you said earlier, infrastructure and resources. We do not have any sort of facility for people with physical disabilities. We have no ramps, we have no lifts, accessible toilets. So unfortunately, we do not have any child with physical disabilities in our classroom. We have one child who has cerebral palsy. She's when she was in preschool, so she could be carried up and down. But after that, what? And the other thing is, of course, we don't have the resources or the professional help to cater for severe disabilities because they do definitely need a different level of support. I think the lack of formal assessment makes it very difficult for us to give sort of focused intervention. To some extent, we're saying that, okay, maybe this child has this, needs this, and we provide support. But if we had formal assessment, maybe we would be able to give some better level of intervention. So I think that while we have been doing this for almost 18 years now, Muktangan is 20 years. As you saw, he was from the first cohort. So we've been taking children with some sort of learning need right from the beginning. We've been doing this for 20 years. And we have learnt a lot along the way. We have grown a lot. But I think we still have a lot to learn, lot to change, and a long way to go.
Thank you, Ela. Your special needs students are twice challenged. They come from an economic strata where they are very marginalized in terms of access to services. So it's really impressive how inclusion at Muktangan provides them with all that they need to get the education that they deserve. And especially with the kind of limited resources that you have. What policy lessons can we draw from Muktangan's experiences and with inclusion of diverse education needs?
I think that the new NEP actually has recommended some very good changes, but I think the main thing that any school, if they want to really practice something, is if the government changed, just reduced class size. If teachers have a smaller classroom, they can access more children, and they can sort of work with the children's needs. So I think that improving the teacher-student ratio would be a big step towards changing the way teachers can address the needs of students. But also, I think it's very important to get access to services. If the government could make it possible, we have children with autism and all, and I think that is very important that they have access to, let's say, occupational therapy, some of them speech therapy. Then if we had even some of those services available, that would be really would change a lot for these children. One more thing I would say is that a problem that we are facing at Muktangan is there are some children who cannot sit the SSC board exam, nor can they do NIOS. So what are the options available for these children after 8th standard? We have found there are very limited options and very limited vocational courses, or then parents will say, now we'll keep her at home, we'll get her married, or something like that, because what are the options? We don't have any. So I think government definitely needs to step in and say there's something there for them after 8th standard.
I think that applies to all kids, kids with all abilities, not just special needs children. That's very, very true. Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm sure there will be lots of questions later, which we will be addressing after everybody else has spoken. We now move to another kind of school, quite a prestigious school in what was once known as the Hollywood of Bombay, with all the older film stars staying there. But a school that, despite being over 100 years old, has again embodied the principle of access for everybody and education for everyone. We will hear from one of their students, Devyani God, and then speak to their special head of special needs, Ramiza Khan. The school is Avabai Patit School in Bandra, Mumbai.
Devyani is a freelance digital marketer with a clientele that includes clients from hospitality, food, security, and education, as well as content creators, musicians, counselors, and psychologists. She has a natural talent for understanding the psychology of consumers and effective communication through media channels. She completed her 10th grade at BAF Pettit Girls High School, has a bachelor's degree in mass media with a specialization in advertising from Mumbai University, and a master's in marketing at the University of Bath, UK, that have helped her develop cutting edge marketing strategies, conduct market research, analyze consumer behavior, and create marketing plans. So, Devyani, we are all ready to hear what you have to say.
Thank you for such a good introduction. So today, if anybody asked if I was treated differently because I was diagnosed with dyslexia and dysgraphia, probably my answer would have been yes, if I did not study in Pettit. In 4th grade, my class teacher stopped me from taking a dictation test because she realized that I needed some special attention in reading and writing instructions. And then she called my parents to school. She asked them to meet the counseling department and run me through a few tests. At the age of 9, I didn't really know, like I literally had no clue what dyslexia or dysgraphia were or how they made me unique. I feel I did not feel different in Pettit because they taught everyone that we're the same. They made sure that they taught all the students about everybody's diverse needs and the uniqueness of each student. They sensitized them during the life skill sessions that were taken by the counseling department. What is inclusive education? I really didn't know what it was. I did not endure the challenges because Pettit was providing me with so many things. I'm glad that I shifted my school and studied at a school like Pettit. There's this one incident I would like to talk about. I was there at I was sitting at my library, and suddenly there was this activity where we were supposed to read the latest chapter from the English literature book. You have no idea how petrified I was, how the anxiety was kicking in. I just felt as if I was going to be humiliated and ridiculed by my classmates. However, something very surprising happened. My classmate, the class monitor, she stood next to me and she helped me read those difficult words. Those big, big words which I couldn't even, break up and read. Another really sweet thing that she did is she went to the librarian and she requested her to exempt me from the entire activity. Not because I was different, but because she could realize that I was feeling really self-conscious and that I was facing self-doubt. The counseling department of Pettit, which is known as the Crystal Club, is no taboo. That is where we got the remedial training. I remember once telling my Hindi teacher, so whenever we had some kind of light period, we used to go and have our remedial training. So one day our Hindi teacher asked, "Tum sab kaha ja rahe ho jhund bana ke," or something like that. And I very happily responded to her and I said, "Hum dyslexia party karne ja rahe hain." So this all happened because of the way students having learning disabilities were portrayed to our school, the students, the teachers and everything. And I think this one incident that I spoke about, dyslexia party, that is when I had accepted my challenges and I was ready to talk about it not only to my classmates but to everybody. In 5th grade, I remember I was selected as the main lead of the annual day production Mary Poppins. I was playing Jane Banks. But when the director found out that I am a student diagnosed with dyslexia, he removed me from the cast. This is when the Crystal Club, the entire team, came in and they stepped in, and then he told that this girl is extremely talented, she deserves the part. If only y'all did not know she had dyslexia, y'all would have taken her anyway. She just needs different kind of an approach while learning the dialogues. It's not that she won't be able to do it. So I did my rehearsals not only in the traditional way by practicing with the cast, reading the script and all of it, but also use something called as flashcards. This is like the best example. I'm carrying them right now. So I learned my dialogues with flashcards, which was specially made for me by the special educators. After the annual day was over, the appreciation boosted my confidence to the next level, and that's when I understood what inclusive education is. If we talk about the normal facilities that were given, like extra time, reader, writer, calculator, along with all of this, the special educators taught us remarkable strategies which altered our life permanently. These strategies helped us learn and memorize the course material. Another incident that I would like to talk about, and this is like a little heartbreaking. So after we had given our 10th and our results were out, we had to fill our forms for 11th grade. Our computer teacher was assisting us, helping, and she just called all of us, like all the students who were diagnosed with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, whatever, ADHD, ADD, all of it, in a corner, and she's like, I am really sorry. And we all were extremely puzzled. We were like, why is she talking like this? Why is she looking at like this? Like, what just happened? Why is she talking to us like this? That's when she told us that according to the Maharashtra government, students with all the mentioned disabilities are considered handicap. So for a 15-year-old, it's a very hard thing. It's like, dude, I'm not handy. What are you talking about? So I have no offense to the people who are actually handicapped, but to a student, it comes in a different way. So what I would say that, in my opinion, every school should adopt inclusive education, because through inclusive education, teachers and students have compassion towards the students towards each other. They empower students with facilities that they deserve. So today, if I did not have these facilities or strategies taught to me, I don't know where or what I would have been doing. The kind of support that the school has given completed has completely changed the path of my life. I don't know what I would have been doing. And it's only because I was treated like a normal child in normal school. Thank you.
And I would just like to add here, because I can relate to you, that why is it that a child with I would just like to quickly add here, because somewhere Devyani and me on the same boat, so almost, that why does a child or a person with disability or different capability have to outperform, has to outshine? As a teenager and younger than that, it put a pressure on me. People just come up and ask you, oh, you are disabled, but you must be very sharp and you must be very good at this and that. Hello, I was not. I was an average person. Like, they expected me to, excel in my academics, go over the top. I was not. I hated maths. I still do. For me, 2 and 2 is still 5, not 4. So, I mean, the society puts that pressure and glorifies our disability sometimes. That we are out to be good and very good at something, if not this, if not these other capabilities. So for God's sake, don't have that expectation. We are normal, we are average. We may not want to study, we may not like it. Not necessarily we have to excel, right? So when you were saying those, I was remembering my days. That expectation builds up that, pressure on you.
In fact, I've always taken being dyslexic as an advantage. I've used all the possible facilities that I've got. When I was studying at the UK, I made sure that I went to the department and told them, I am dyslexic. Can you give me extra time? They said, you can get a writer and a reader as well. And I said, okay, give it to me. So there's no harm in taking those advantages of the facilities that you, and it's not even taking advantage, it's the facilities that that you deserve. Yeah, you're entitled to, correctly.
Yeah, I'm not talking about those. I'm just saying the society expects you to be a superstar if you have a certain, limitation in, say, maybe one area of your life. Then they expect you must be very sharp and you must be this. So that sort of builds up a pressure.
True.
I mean, you may be an average kid like any other kid. Just because you have a disability doesn't make you a super person. That's what I'm saying. That's all. Thanks.
That was a very valid point also. Thank you, Devyani. That was a very, very touching perspective on inclusion. And thank you, Neenu, for your comments as well, which are very, very pertinent. Over to Masrat to introduce Ramiza.
Thank you. Ramiza is a psychologist and special educator and has been heading this skill enhancement department for the past 18 years at BF Pettit Girls High School in Mumbai, India. She is also the curriculum developer, trainer and school resource person for the pre-primary to grade 4 reading, spelling, cursive handwriting and pre-primary math. She headed a remedial school for 6 years before deciding to quit and join a mainstream school, as she strongly believes in inclusion. She has been nominated as a member of School Inclusive Education Development Team of Global Inclusive Education Network. Ramiza has presented papers nationally and internationally on topics such as facilitating the inclusion of students with specific learning disability in schools, phonological awareness and phonics instruction, inclusive practice that benefits all kinds of learners, and concrete representational, abstract and multisensory strategies, and inclusive approach to mathematics. Over to you, Ramiza.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think we've heard it all from Devyani, the inclusive policy of a school at a very, very practical level. So it's not all about academics, right? It's more than that, going beyond academics and making sure that our children are happy wherever they are, and providing them with all the kinds of help, support, accommodations to make sure that they are comfortable, happy, progressing and able to reach up to their maximum potential. So something more about our school. I am representing by Awabai from Pettit Girls High School, which is in Bandra, Mumbai. As you can see from the pictures, we have a sprawling campus with lush greenery, beautiful cottages spread across 7 acres of land. And our children are blessed to be studying in such a beautiful environment with lovely trees, plants, birds around them, a clean, pure environment. So inclusion at Awabai Pettit, it has always been an important feature of our school policy. More than 10% of our students belong to the economically marginalized section. Many of them are first generation learners and also English as second language learners. Thus, there is a wide socio-economic and cultural divide amongst our student population. So this is our mandate, to address the concerns of diverse learners and provide quality education and social development to all, to build a system where every student feels that they belong. So diversity and inclusion, they have been an important feature of our school vision and values. We believe in fostering an environment that empowers each child with the readiness to face tomorrow's challenges and the spirit of empathy to embrace individual, local, and global diversities. So, the purpose of education for us goes beyond academics, as I mentioned earlier. We want our children, we want education to reflect the diverse world, and therefore we have been taking many steps since many years now. We constantly strive to instill in our students a sense of understanding and compassion for others and acceptance of diverse abilities and needs. So for me, inclusion is a process. It's an ongoing process, a continuous process. And when we talk about inclusion, we need to take action. It's not something that's going to be on paper. We have to act. And it is continuous, like I mentioned. So our school has taken many steps to address the concerns of students from the marginalized section of the society, as well as students with neurodiversity. So what did we do? We started with language support programs for our children. We appointed a language specialist to look into the language and comprehension skills of the children. So she made modifications to the classroom teaching of language and comprehension in grades 1 to grade 4. And the emphasis has been on skill building. We also have a skill enhancement department with highly qualified professionals, psychologists, special educators, counselors. And this department, as you have heard Devyani speak, is fondly called as Crystal Club. It is a club where we do various activities, and Devyani mentioned about how children love to come to Crystal Club, how she and her peers were excited and had fun, and she even called it as a dyslexia party whenever she had to come to Crystal Club for strategies and remediation. So this is what we do at Crystal Club. We have dance therapy, music and movement, brain gym exercises, puppet therapy, play therapy, language enrichment programs, remediation, and various activities, all with the intention of enhancing various skills in children. We believe in early identification. So the children are screened and identified during the preschool years, and we have counseling. We counsel parents. Our psychologists coordinate with the entire team at Petit. They coordinate with the principal, the teachers, the parents, and the section heads to discuss the plan, to discuss the classroom management strategies, and the kind of support and help that we need to provide to our students. We have therapy and remediation sessions, and once the children are screened, they are referred for assessment, for diagnosis, and once the diagnosis is done, whatever accommodations are required are sanctioned to the children, and these accommodations are need based. So these are the accommodations that we have been giving: extra time, spelling coordination, reader, writer, calculator, oral evaluation. Apart from these, if our children need any kind of specific accommodation, and if we feel yes, they deserve it and they need it to function smoothly, we do offer. So it is all need based. This is our diverse population. We have around 1000 children in our school. So the economically marginalized section consists of 10%, specific learning disorder 5%, sensory processing and coordination difficulties 4.5%, attention difficulties 2%, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder 1%, intellectual challenges 1.8%, autistic spectrum disorder 0.4%, emotional and behavioral concerns 2%, and other neurological conditions, that is seizures, myoclonus dystonia, cerebral palsy 0.7%. So our systems and programs have been set in place to handle the challenges of a diverse student population, and emphasis has been on providing students not only with customized support but also creating an empathetic and supportive environment. And for this, we have the social emotional learning and life skills sessions, which are conducted by our psychologists and special educators. Life skills and social emotional well-being are an integral part of our curriculum, and we have it across our school. So our counselors go to each class every week and they conduct these sessions throughout the year, right from preschool to class 10. So we discuss various topics, we address various areas such as emotions and feelings, helping them to understand their emotions, their feelings, helping them to understand the emotions and feelings of others, identifying their feelings, emotional regulation, problem solving, conflict resolution, coping and resilience, empathy and compassion. So these are our students here who are felicitating our helping staff. During our life skills sessions, we have very practical activities for children. So our students made thank you cards and thank you badges for our helping staff. These are our gardeners. So they felicitated them. These are the didis of our school, and these badges have been made by the students from the primary section. So everyone has worked towards making these cards and badges. These are our security staff. So all our students and parents are involved in helping children with challenges. As Devyani mentioned, during the life skills sessions, we talk about the strengths of the children. Each child discusses her strength. They have group activities where they talk about their strengths and what they could as a group do to make use of these strengths and do something for the betterment. At the same time, we discuss about the diverse needs and challenges also that each one has, and therefore, like Devyani mentioned, during the library period, the class monitor was so sensitive and helped Devyani, and she did it so well. For a student to do something like this, to empathize and to even approach the librarian and tell her to give her exemption from reading, I think was fantastic. So every year we have around 25 students from grade 9 who volunteer to help our children with specific learning disorders. They read and write papers for the grade 10 students. We also have parents volunteering to help our children with challenges. So it is, when we talk about inclusion, it is the whole team that is involved and should be involved for any change to happen, for successful inclusion to happen. It's very important that all the stakeholders are involved. It is teamwork. So right from the management to the principal, section heads, teachers, psychologists, counselors, special educators, therapists, parents, and the non-teaching staff, the entire team is involved in making this a success. We also have professional development programs to sensitize our teaching staff towards the needs of the diverse population. We conduct training programs for effective classroom management, for designing flexible curriculum to keep our children engaged, motivated, and stimulated in a cognitive way. 6 years back, we introduced the inclusive curriculum, and crafting of this inclusive curriculum required a paradigm shift, a shift from viewing children with challenges as a problem to viewing the education system as something that needs to be strengthened to address the diverse needs of the students. So, we started this 6 years back, and for this, yes, of course, our teachers had to undergo intensive training in the inclusive methodology and pedagogy. So we use the multisensory approach where all the sensory modalities are stimulated simultaneously. So the children see, feel, touch, they describe, so they hear their own voice, they hear the voices of others, and all this is done simultaneously. So by doing this, all the learning pathways of the brain are stimulated for effective learning and retention. So this is a multisensory math program, and all these are very hands-on activities. You can see that the children are very actively involved and engaged. This is a multisensory program that I am showing. So we do it in various ways. Multiple ways of teaching are used to address the diverse needs, and it is fun learning. So talking about our inclusive program, at the preschool level, we have the literacy and numeracy program as well as structured reading and spelling. Structured reading and spelling program is right from the preschool to grade 4, and language program consists of phonological awareness, phonics, and graded readers. One more step forward, getting more inclusive now. We are offering occupational therapy and speech therapy services to our children since 6 months. Children with difficulties in attention, focusing, sensory processing, gross motor and fine motor skills, ADHD, are all receiving help. So like I mentioned, it is a process, a continuous process. We are inching towards a more inclusive setup. However, there is a long way to go, a long way to go till we can say that we are truly inclusive. However, we continue to learn. We learn from our experiences, from the experiences of our children, from the experiences of other schools, the best practices of other schools, and we are striving to provide opportunities to every child so that they feel they are happy, and they feel that they are able to accomplish what they wish to, and they are able to maximize their potential. So another step is we are planning to have ramps in our school. Our school infrastructure is such, it is on a hill. We have cottages spread all over, but ramps are there in our plan, and the work has already started. I would like to conclude with 2 quotes. Do not forget, we need each other. You have a responsibility to make inclusion a daily thought so we can get rid of the word inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ramiza. Just one quick question. You are providing a huge variety of services, special education, curriculum support, as well as therapy, play therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Do the parents pay extra for these services?
So where the remediation and therapy are concerned, it is free for all the children. Where the economically marginalized section of the children are concerned, everything is free for them. However, the other children have to pay for occupational therapy.
Thank you. We'll come back to you with questions. I'm sure there will be some from the rest of the group. We
Thank
move
you.
on now to Yoishta, who straddles both. She was in Avabai Patel. She was in school in Avabai Patel School, and now is in Xavier's College. So, Yoishta, we are excited to have you over here. I think you have prepared a video for, so we will hear the video.
So just to introduce Yoishta, Yoishta is an inquisitive, vibrant and ambitious 19-year-old young woman. She is an ex-student of Avabai Petit Girls High School and currently studying in St. Xavier's College in the arts stream. She is passionate about spreading awareness about disability through writing, videos and through any other medium that she can. She loves reading, penning down her thoughts and views, loves traveling, listening to music and spending time with family and friends. We have a video recording of Yoishta which we'll be sharing with you all now.
Hope you all are having a great day. I, Yoshua Umrigar, would like to speak about my life journey till date. Born as a rubella baby, I have numerous disabilities like loss of hearing, low eyesight, distorted speech, and so on, due to which I have had numerous surgeries and therapies. I am a 19-year-old inquisitive, vivacious young woman who has a zest for life and curiosity to explore the world. I am a proud student of the My Avabai from the Petit Girls High School, and I am currently studying in the art stream in St. Xavier's College. From a young age, I have been attending various educational institutions before I entered Petit in the 4th grade. These institutions lacked sensitivity and did not give much help and support. My life turned around in a positive way when I entered into Petit in the 4th grade. The school has a team of psychologists, counselors and special educators who take sessions in all the classes, thus interacting with all the students and reaching out to those who need help. The parents can also reach out to the teachers and the counselors regarding any issues with their children. In fact, most of the time, the counselors reach out to the parents to explain to them the accommodations and support that they are willing to give them to empower their children with. I received considerable understanding, compassion and support from the entire school team, the principal, the head, and all the teachers. They ensured that I sat on the first seat of the class and allowed me to go up to the board for better visibility and audibility during the class. I also attended sessions on study skills and strategies, which helped me to do very well in all the school activities. Additionally, during the exams, I was provided with a large font size paper, reader, calculator, and extra time to accommodate my needs. The school also made it possible to accommodate me with a large font-size question paper even during the 10th board exam. They printed the question paper before the commencement of the exam and gave it to me. I decided to take only a reader for myself during that time, as I thought that my distorted speech would not be understood by the writer, and thus communication would have been difficult. The school assistant was invaluable with providing me with all these provisions. They also ensured that I did not feel isolated, and that gave me a sense of belongingness. This, I would say, is true inclusion. I am also blessed to be a student of St. Xavier's College. In my college, the teaching and the non-teaching staff give a lot of support to the disabled, from academic to personal support. They provide a lot of accessible devices like the video magnifier and a lot of programs for the disabled to help them know the accessible ways in which they can function independently. This is done by the accessibility department, which has a branch in St. Xavier's College and others all over the world. They do not only help their students but also extend their support to disabled children and adults outside of the college. I believe that all educational institutions should provide these facilities and extend their efforts to create a more inclusive environment for the students with diverse abilities. Although many institutions and organizations provide support to the disabled people, not all disabled people are aware of the resources and opportunities that they are empowered to have. In many cases, they also do not feel welcomed. Thus, it is crucial for organizations and institutions to collaborate in raising awareness and sensitivity towards all the disabilities and implement support services more effectively. I take this opportunity to thank my school and college for this substantial support to make me the person I am today.
Thank you so much, Yohishta. That was awesome. When you say the person you are today, yes, the awesome person you are today.
Thank you.
Are there questions?
Yoishta, if you could just tell us that, when you moved from school to college, okay, what were the thoughts in your mind? Like, I'm going from a school that has been so supportive, and now that you're going to college, did you have any questions, apprehensions?
No, it just was like a transformation because like going from school to college, I was very comfortable in school. So like going from school to college, I did not know what college would be like. So yeah, that was one thing.
Okay. So when you entered college, how did you feel then?
I felt it was very accepting, very comfortable there also.
Right. So you moved into the right college, right?
Yes,
Yes, that's very important. So our next speaker is, thank you, Yoishta.
Thank you.
So our next speaker is Mr. Ketan Kothari. He is a disability professional working in the field for the past 30 years. He has worked at a variety of places in leading roles, heading 3 departments at the National Association for the Blind India, working as program officer and then advocacy manager at Sight Savers India, and presently with Xavier's Center for Visually Challenged in the St. Xavier's College. His passions include inclusive education and accessibility for the disabled. He was involved in the advocacy for financial access as also advocacy for an amendment to the Indian Copyrights Act 1957, both of which have yielded success. Mr. Ketan Kothari, over to you.
Now there is going to be some struggle with mic, but we'll see. So, St. Xavier's College, we are a department of St. Xavier's College, that is the Xavier's Resource Center for the Visually Challenged, or XRCVC as we are known. As you will realize when you listen to the whole presentation or see the whole, that now the name is a little deceptive, because now we are not only working for people with visual challenges, but we are working with people with all sorts of challenges. In fact, now that V has to become visual to be replaced by various kind of. Yeah, so we are basically a state of the art support center with technology for all kinds of disabilities, because today we know technology has transformed the entire ecosystem. I mean, today who could have imagined that a blind person would be writing a letter to a sighted person and it will be read by a sighted person without ever knowing that it's written by a blind person. Earlier it was thought that blind person, oh God, if he is writing, he has to write in braille, and then how will I ever read it? That's how the sighted people thought. Today we are doing everything, right? WhatsApp and Twitter and God knows what else. Instagram also I am not doing, but yeah, there are friends of mine who love Instagram. So we are state of the art technology and advocacy center, because we believe that rights of people with disability have to be advocated for, and those have to be acquired by convincing the authorities, whether in public sector or private sector, and that's how the copyright which was just mentioned, or financial access for people with disability has been brought into being. Now we have been basically working, XRCVC is working actively in researching and implementing inclusive education models for the Indian context, because we have a very varied kind of situation. We all know that ours is a country where even a bullock cart has to run, and an aircraft also. I mean, state of the art now. What do they call those double decker aircrafts? So everything has to move in this country, and our models are such which can be replicated, which can be scaled up by others, because there is no point in doing something that only we can do, right? Because it is required all across the country and we can't be reaching everywhere else. So it has to be done in a way that can be replicated by others all across the country. We were set up in 2003 by Dr. Sam Tarapurwala, who was a lecturer at the, and who retired as head of sociology, who himself is blind, totally blind, and in the past 20 years we have reached to close to 60,000 people. Now how, what have we done? So we've done teachers training in inclusive education. We train general teachers. We are dealing mostly in higher education, but we also deal with certain school outreaches where our children with disability are studying, and if we are approached, we also work with those schools. And so we train teachers in inclusive education. Then we also have stakeholder training in access content creation, because you will realize that and Neenu just mentioned about accessibility. I personally believe that no program, howsoever well designed program is, well funded program is, unless there is accessibility, the program is bound to fail. And similar is the story for inclusive education. We can give all sorts of facilities, but if the curriculum is not accessible, if children with various disabilities cannot access the curriculum, then the best services will fail. Our children will not get educated, and that is why we train people, our student volunteers and others, as in creating accessible document. And we do not mean by accessible document documents only in braille. There are electronic documents, there are easy to read format documents for our SLD students, something that Devyani was just talking about. We believe that all kinds of disabilities need to be catered to. We also have been working for print access and financial access. Now, print access we meant because earlier copyright law was such that even scanning book was illegal. Today the law has now permitted scanning books and creating electronic copies for people who are print disabled, including dyslexia, Devyani, for in a way that can be accessed by them, both electronically, braille, audio, and even if tomorrow some new format comes in, we do not need an amendment to the law, because the word mentioned are accessible formats. Then we train persons with disabilities in assistive technology, because as I just said earlier, unless you have assistive technology, things do not work, and technology has transformed all of us, we know that. Yeah. So, what I am using today, what you are seeing, braille. Now, this braille is also created using a computerized braille embosser. So, a technology, old Louis Braille could never have thought of this, but today it is so easy. Even if you do not know braille, you can give me a braille document, you do not need to learn braille. So, that is the way technology has worked. We were also, we have also been able to change the way HSC, CBSE exams are conducted, physiotherapy which was not allowed, psychology education, that was visually challenged students were barred from taking a degree. All this we got changed, and we have our own awareness program called Antar Chakshu, the eye within. It's a trademark program where we go through simulation of people with disabilities, lives of people with disability, followed by debriefing to get rid of the myths that people hold. And believe me, there are innumerable myths that people hold, and sometimes when you hear them you would laugh, you know, but that is how it is. We have been contributing to inclusive education nationwide. We were appointed by the Rashtriya Ucha Shiksha Abhiyan, that is RUSA, as their consultant for inclusive education in 2016. We spearheaded the formation of Inclusive University Alliance in 2019, and we have consultancy MOUs with Ashoka University, then Maharashtra State Faculty Development Authority, whom we are training, IIT Madras and IIT Delhi, Kirodimal College in Delhi, to name a few. Because we want our inclusive education model to be replicated. Now, this replication is extremely important. Unless that happens, the whole exercise that we are conducting will not yield the desired result that we want. Every year we get 100 plus students with disability. Yoishta is one of our students, and I am extremely happy the way she was coming across with such confidence. I mean, it's really remarkable, Yoishta. We have some very eminent students. One is Miss Pranjal Patil, or rather Mrs. Pranjal Patil, who is India's first woman visually challenged IAS. Today she is, I believe, Deputy Collector in Kerala. Then we have Ibrahim Parker, who is an IT professional, who is a person with cerebral palsy. Then there is Nehal Tiwari, again an IT professional and an artist, who is with person with autism spectrum. Then we have Yadnit Vadel. Now this boy, you will be surprised, is a totally blind boy who has completed his BSc in chemistry and botany. Now imagine a blind person completing his BSc, totally blind person completing his BSc with all the experiments in the lab, and he has now won scholarship. So he is going to go to study to Europe in both Ireland and Austria. I mean, it's such a proud moment. Earlier we thought, oh, you are blind, what will you do? At the most maybe teacher, work in the bank, or at the most if you are very brilliant then maybe lawyer. But imagine a blind person becoming a scientist, that too in chemistry and botany, or as he loves to call it, plant biology. Yeah, botany is something that you and I call, you know, old generation people, plant biology. So now how did all this come about? So teamwork, of course, because we had a very good team work. Everybody who is part of XRCVC has taken ownership. It's no longer a job, it's ownership, it's my work, it's not XRCVC's work. And the support given by the management of the Xavier's Bombay St. Xavier's Society and the St. Xavier's College. Now I was asked a question, a very important question by Kate, about how would we make arrangements for physically disabled students in a building that is a heritage building which cannot have alterations made. So our management is so receptive that we have got accessible toilets on the ground floor. We, if accommodations are asked for, then we provide accommodations to the extent of changing the classroom so that our physically disabled student can participate in the class. There are of course elevators, but unfortunately since it is an old building, elevators are not that big. So that is a slightly difficult thing. Then we have a student coordinator for students with disability. She incidentally is sitting here with me, Ms. Poonam Devkar, and the amount of efforts that she takes is just remarkable. I mean, especially when exam time approaches, to get scribe and all those things, she gets calls at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the night, ma'am kal ke liye writer kaise milega, whereas the writer is already arranged. And of course the presence of the resource center that we have. So these things help in our success of inclusive education. Now how do we go about this? How do we have the process of inclusive education? What do we do in order that the education of students with disability is not only facilitated well, but that they can come out, our students can come out with success. So there is an accommodation form which is there, you can see that form I believe on the slide. So we have an accommodation form which students are encouraged to fill up when they take admission, and when the admission process happens, you see this whole process, the students meet the student coordinator and express their accommodation needs, which we try to meet in due course. So that is something that we do. Now the other thing is accessible infrastructure, which I just spoke about earlier. So despite our being a heritage building, we make all efforts to see that our students with disability are not inconvenienced. We prepare accessible study material in braille, in audio format, in electronic format, in easy to read format for our SLD friends. We provide assistive aids and appliances to students with disabilities, whoever needs them. Teacher sensitization and training is provided to our professors for pedagogical adjustments. Then there are special skills training given to our students, especially visually challenged students in assistive technology, in activities of daily living, orientation and mobility, braille, etc. Then we also have specific provisions for learning and examination. Now, how do they all work? Now, when so now for example, we have even a motorized stair climbing wheelchair. So, if you have to climb a few stairs, you can use that wheelchair, use it and climb the stairs. There are ramps and accessible tiles available. Those of you who are travelling by railway, local railway, you must have seen those accessible tiles at near the disability coach. And then there are accessible toilets, as I said. There are guiding tiles again. Again, those are there on the station. You must have seen them. Then what else happens? So, accessible study material, how does that work? So, we have a braille embosser in our center. There is the optical character recognition, that is a scanning machine which enables the student to scan the material and read it aloud. Now that facility is also, earlier it was available only in English. Now it is also available in Devanagari languages, namely Hindi, Marathi, etc. and Gujarati is also there, but it is still in a very primitive stage. Then there are e-book readers available. I do not know whether you know that even Kindle is accessible now for students, for people with disabilities. Then there are video magnifiers. I think Yoishta did mention about video magnifiers. Then there are, we make special efforts to provide tactile diagrams for students with total blindness, because for them they cannot see, and if they cannot see, how would they experience the things that are there. So, we get tactile diagrams made from our volunteers. We train them and they make tactile diagrams. Now, inclusive pedagogy, that is very important, because merely providing everything else, but there is no pedagogical inclusion, then it will be a big challenge. So, we try everything. We, for example, we have teacher sensitization and training, as I mentioned earlier. Then we also have we also provide a facility for inclusive examination. Now, in fact, this year, that is in January 2023, we have finalized our scribe policy, that is policy for providing writers to the students who need them, not only the visually challenged students, but also physically disabled students or some SLD students who require writers. So, we provide them writers. We not only provide them writers, we provide them facilities to write exams on computers. We also provide them class buddies to assist them if they need, if they are weak in studies. There are some tutors from senior classes who help them. Then there are with teachers' permission, they can record class lectures. There are as I said, computer exams. Then there are exams with scribes, and for students with autism spectrum, we also have the facility of prompters. So, then there are tactile diagram exams, so that students can answer those questions. There are oral exams or assignments if the student is unable to undertake exams in a regular manner. I am definitely not using the word normal, because I think everybody is a normal person in his or her own way. At least that is my personal belief. Everybody is a normal person. Now, what are the learnings that we have gathered in the last 20 years? So, sometimes what we find is that some parents tend to be very, very overprotective, to the extent that they think my child is the only child who will need facility. So, we believe that that is not the case. We have to make our children independent. Although they are disabled, they have to be independent. You need not overprotect them so that they become dependent, because the world is not going to be disabled friendly all the time, unfortunately. Whether we like it or not, this is the reality and we have to face it. So, we have to let our children learn how to advocate for themselves, how to, we provide all the facilities, but let us not overdo it. We must encourage our students to make requests at the beginning of the year, because what happens is sometimes if the requests come at the end, the accommodation requests come at the end, it may not be possible for us to meet those requests, although we may want to, because there are certain logistical difficulties. Then also it's a, let us all remember that this is a trial and error experience. Some things work, some things do not work, and we are all learning all the time. I think someone did mention this, that inclusive education is a continuous learning process. We are all learning, and that is the experience that we have also had. Also constantly liaise with your parents, the parents of the students, because sometimes, as I said, parents tend to overdo. We have parents who, if you ask a student a question, the mother will answer, and that really irks me a lot, because I say, let the child make mistake, at least he will know or she will know that okay, what it is, because in the world you are not going to get everything on a platter. So, let parents know that your child can make mistake, there is nothing wrong in making mistake. So, let the child be really independent. Parents have to be told all ever so often that everything cannot come unfortunately on a platter, everything will be tried, but sometimes if things can't go our way, our child has also to adjust, has also to learn. Yeah, unless it is an absolutely essential thing, that of course one cannot adjust. Then the teacher's training should become part of the in-service induction. When the teacher joins, when a lecturer joins, because we are talking about higher education, the teachers have to be inducted to the, the way they will teach in the class, keeping a diverse group of students in mind, because unless that is done, sometimes with the best of intentions, our students tend to be left out, and that's, none of us would want that. So, this is what our learnings are, and we think that this model can be replicated for higher education, because many a times children tend to drop out because they think that oh God, now nothing can be done, and we want children to be part of higher education, learn the best that is available in the world and earn very well, because ultimately that is what the aim of everybody is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ketan. I think we saved the best for last. Xavier's has an awesome history of inclusion. At least the last 50 years, I think, they have been admitting students initially with disabilities, especially blind students, visually impaired students. Initially, I think it was under the Social Service League, and eventually they created the Vision Center. What, in the light of that and the way it has developed over these years, can we draw some policy recommendations for, especially for governments and for education departments?
Yes, first and foremost, government has to make some of these accommodations part of their education policy. Government has to make some of these accommodations. They've made extra time and see, for example, computerized exams are allowed at HSC, at CBSE level, but there are certain other provisions that are not allowed. For example, many a times special schools compel blind students to drop maths and science. Government has to step in there, that it's not that there are difficulties, they don't have cognitive difficulties, and now when they drop maths and science, they are automatically barred from appearing for competitive exams. I mean, they are not barred as in barred, but because you've not learned maths and science, you cannot appear in those exams, you don't have the good opportunity and chances of passing them. The other policy lesson that I would want especially is that government must make it mandatory of getting every B.Ed and D.Ed course to have a compulsory disability paper, not at the end of the, I think it's there in the 4th semester, but that also is in a very half-hearted manner. It has to be a proper disability subject where teachers, the would-be teachers are trained, and the special schools, I mean, it is a matter of shame that special schools are under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. How can education be a charity? All schools, whether they are special schools or inclusive schools, have to be under the Ministry of Education. This is an advocacy that all of us who are working in the disability area have to do in a very strong manner. We've been talking about this, I remember, ever since the time I was working with NAB, that is almost some 15-20 years ago. Still today, we have situation where most special schools, all special schools are under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Hence, their quality is extremely poor in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases. And government supervision is also, well, lackadaisical, if I may say so. So this is very important. We have to take this as an advocacy issue, friends.
Thank you so much. I know there are questions all around around this room and probably also on Zoom, but we are running out of time. We have already crossed our time limit. I would have liked to summarize, but I think that will have to go in a paper rather than in the video. Thank you everybody for being over here, and thank you Amrita University and the C20 administration for giving us this opportunity to voice our views and tell the world what we are doing. Thank you very much.
I would just like to extend thanks to Tinsy Benjamin, who has been for the past 2 hours signing for us. Thank you so much, Tinsy. And our videographers here who have been, coordinating, and I'm sure they have done an excellent job. Our venue partner, SRCC, Ms. Nandita Surur, thank you to you and your team. And Hirali Shah here is representing Access for All, our accessibility partners. So thank you everybody, and thank you, I would especially want to thank our students who have been brave enough to come and talk. Ninu is an expert activist, but as students, I think this is the first time they have come on an open platform to talk. So thank you so much, Devyani and Yoishta, for being so brave. And you, in your own way, are activists now and advocates for the cause. Thank you very much to your parents who are here. And I'm sure their support has gone a long way in making what you are today. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to all our invited guests over here. And we are looking forward. We know we have run short of time, but we are looking forward that we all would discuss certain points before we part ways. Thank you so much.